Pokemon Go trainers, welcome to episode 22 of the Lured Up Creator Series, the podcast bringing your favorite content creators to talk about their work, process, and the game that brings it all together, Pokemon Go. Lured Up is part of the Pokemon Professor Network, and today is Saturday, December 12th, 2020. I'm your host, Ken Pescatore, and this week I'm excited to be joined by the crew from Pokemon GO Radio. Salt and Nar. What's up, guys?
Yeah.
Why are we 22nd? I think is the real question.
It's Nar and Salt. Just I don't know if we need to like restart the file or what.
Does it have to be who was born first? Is that like how you?
I'm the eldest. Yeah.
There's no way to know for sure though.
There is an easy way to tell, and it's me.
It'd be fucked up if you guys were born at like 11:59 and 12:00.
Oh, I tell people that all the time. That'd
be fucked up.
Alas.
That would break the time-space continuum.
Then
I met one set of twins like
very
that.
Very sad.
Really?
And it's just
that's happened.
Yeah, I met. Actually, I met their mom
at a bank.
She's like, yeah, I had twins. Yeah, and we were like, what? But yeah, I tell people that all the time. It's my favorite lie to tell people.
My favorite is we tell people that our fathers are identical twins and we're cousins. I don't know why. That's just a fun thing. Yeah. Answer the same question for like 30 years, and you're finally like, all right, it's time to get a little stupid with this.
Or it's like, what's it like? What's it like? I don't know, man. It's my life. I don't know what to
Have you
tell
seen the movie Face Off? It's a lot like, what the fuck do you want from me? I don't know, man. It's like having a brother, but he looks like me.
Yeah. But so Ken, what's up, y'all? How are you guys doing?
Thank you for having us on, man.
Yeah, man, we appreciate it.
Hell yeah, dude. No, I'm very excited to have you on.
Got a leather patch on my blazer here. I've got a real like inside the actor's studio vibe. I've really like channeled my process to get ready for this show. So Salt's just been doing whippets, but other than that, like we're ready to go.
Yeah, I've just been doing a little booger sugar over here, just really pumped up.
Sugar.
I'm thinking about. I want to go get a Moscow Mule, but I'm afraid Peppa's gonna yell at me because I drank too much whiskey last night, according to her. And that's what.
Even if it's business whiskey.
Yeah, but she's pregnant, so
you can
she just like,
that.
watches me sit here and have a good time, and she's like, "That's." Yeah.
All right. Well, let me right the ship a little bit. Why don't you introduce yourself? Let us know where you're from, and tell us about your show and a little bit about it, and then we'll start digging into the nuts and bolts.
Well, our name is Pokemon GO Radio. We're from our mom, as we mentioned. We're identical twins, so
our first apartment.
That's accurate too. But we've been doing this probably since July 2016. I remember Salt was like, "Hey, go into your backyard." I caught a Doduo, and I got it real bad, and I've had it real bad ever since for this game. And we talked ourselves into doing a podcast. We're on episode 222, I think. We're gonna record tomorrow. So yeah, it's been a whole thing, but I'm really, really happy to be doing it.
Sorry, my dog is dying in the background.
He just does that.
He just gets tired of Nar.
It's very cool that you guys have been doing this for so long, and you were definitely the pioneers and OGs of Pokemon Go specific podcasting, which is really cool.
There were others, but we laid them by the wayside. / they got bored and quit.
Dude, I remember like the first generation of Pogo podcasts. Like there was some interesting ones, but y'all have lasted the test of time, which is fucking awesome because I think you have like the highest episode count of any Pogo specific podcast, which is pretty cool.
I was gonna say, do you get to count these creator series stuff? Because like you're booking it, man.
Ken's out here.
He's out here. We should have a creator series about you, man. Just out here on that hustle.
Always, man. You gotta hustle a lot to keep up the pace. But well, you know what? Let's start with you. Let's start with both of you personally. What is your background with Pokemon? And I'd imagine that your childhoods probably had a lot of similar timelines because everything lines up like that.
A lot of watching.
What's your background with Pokemon? Like
a lot of watching the other person play Pokemon is what we did.
So in 1999,
I want to be player one.
And Kenneth Fontenot in the 4th grade told me about Pokemon, and I was like, "That's really cool." So we went and we got our Super Nintendo came with our dad accidentally bought the Game Boy adapter cartridge, and we didn't have any games on it at Christmas, but it doesn't matter. But we bought Pokemon GO Red, and we were able to play it through that adapter on the Super Nintendo, or Pokemon Red. And we played that game for the first day for like 5 hours straight, both of us just staring at the TV. I don't even think we got up to pee.
Nope.
We just played
I pissed myself.
I think we got, oh man, it was crazy. I remember like just the moments of that randomly running across, and this is like 1999. Like there was no internet, and just randomly running across a Pikachu in the Viridian Forest. We're like, oh my God. It was just so cool. And yeah, we just absolutely fell in love with the franchise, played every generation. I've played more of the generations than Nar has. He's gone back, but you're talking trading cards. We were super into that. Just everything Pokemon. And, as we grew up and became teenagers and into our mid-20s, we didn't stay with the TCG. But, it was always something that we'd come back to. I would always play the games when they'd come out and just had a love about it. And then when Pokemon Go came out, I mean, forget about it. We talk about it all the time, but as you know, it's just the realization of the fulfillment of the fantasy of Pokemon, going out and catching Pokemon and being a Pokemon trainer. So it was a no-brainer to want to create and just talk about that. So really, we just started recording the conversations that Nar and I were going to talk about anyway.
I think I've gotten a lot of flack for being like, when I fell off the main series games, I was probably like around Gen 3. Like I played a little bit of Ruby and then dipped out and never came back until Pokemon Go. Like I'd always, Pokemon was always a huge part of my childhood, but I was just kind of bored with the main series format. It wasn't even because I grew out of it. I'm just like, okay, this is kind of what I say is the same game over and over again. I know like a lot of people ready to like light up the Molotov cocktails and whip them at my head, but it's just the way I feel. And I feel the same way about Sword and Shield. I feel the same way about, I've played all the way through. I've played Omega Sapphire. I've played all the way through Shield. And to me, Go was a new idea, a new spin on something that I just deeply love down to its core. This collecting these monsters, battling these monsters. It was just so new and exciting for people that had been away for so long to come back and say, yes, you have truly captured the spirit. Like, forget about Jurassic Park Go or whatever bullshit. Like, this is Pokemon. They've just perfectly got it. Like, fuck off with your Ghostbusters, whatever. Like, this is Pokemon.
Garfield
and it was
Go.
I think it was so cool to play what was like basically a beta, like when the game first came out, and just to know that as soon as you open the app, like this is going to be something. Like this is absolutely going to go places and do things. And that's why we started the podcast, because we're like, I want to be a part of it.
Wait, we're not still in the beta?
Maybe.
I think actually Go Beyond we're now in launch.
Yeah,
we've come out of it. We've come out of it.
They just need that Mr.
Awesome.
Rhyme money, and then they'll get right over the hump. If they get that Mr. Rhyme cheddar, then they'll fully be able to pay for this game.
Yeah.
So we were talking, again, timely information here, but we were talking about the whole Mr. Rhyme event, and you guys have feelings. So I look forward to your episode this week if you're going to discuss that.
It's going to be like 50 minutes of positivity and then just 10 minutes of just taking an absolute
shitting on
aneurysm.
No, like when you have a good show, you want to play devil's advocate. Like you'll have one person take one side or another. There's going to be none of that. Both of us are going to be like dual attacking, like a pincer attack on this shit, because we are not happy about it. But
no, that's awesome, because I actually do want to touch on that a little later in the show about, handling those specific situations where, there could be a situation in game that not only splits the community, but splits the hosts. And I think that's typically where you could find a lot of cool and fun content where there's some kind of dissonance.
You know what likes to touch and handle
in the content?
Mr. Mime. He likes to touch and handle everyone in your privates, because he's a fucking creep. It's a creep of a Pokemon.
It's so creepy. He's got a cane.
I don't like it.
Oh, God. It's so weird. All right, well, how do you typically play the game? What's what are your favorite ways to play? Are you doing PvP? Are you raiding? Are you gymming? Are you shiny hunting? What's your style of gameplay when you spend your time playing the game?
I think we have to play every part of it if we're gonna be podcast hosts and talk about it. I'm never gonna be top tier PvP, but I like doing our Pokemon GO Radio League tournaments. I like raiding, especially now with a remote raiding. It's so stupid easy. But I love the going out and the catching it, but really I would say the game really turned a corner for PvP. I just love the fact that even if I'm not constantly PvPing, it's the whole point of the collecting for me was you get a good Pokemon to fight with. And now that there are PvP Pokemon, that's just night and day better. So I think the collecting funneling into that is really cool. We're famously not hoarders. Like, Nar, how many Pokemon do you have right now? I have 1,100 Pokemon.
Yeah, about like there.
Is your inventory maxed out?
No, I have
No,
1,100 Pokemon.
How do you survive?
Because
How do you
I
live?
cull, like, and I don't know, people are like, yeah, like, we talked about this, but people are like, yeah, I keep so many different, I've got all the Pikachu hats, I have a shiny of everything, I keep PvPs and shinies and PvE IVs. If it's not something that is super the best of the thing, I'm just getting rid of it. And so
Wow.
I love man, I guess my favorite way to play is I like the going out, and I'm going to go on a play sesh day. Like, I'm going to grab my headphones, I'm going to go downtown, and I'm going to see what comes at me. If it's raid invites, if it's, hunting down rare Pokemon by walking around the different stops. But that decision to grab my charger and go someplace to play Pokemon Go and just be lost in it for a couple hours, that I would say is my ideal way to play.
I'll tell you what I really miss. That's kind of a spin on that because
The footprints.
Well, yeah, pour one out for the footprints. I got just a little bit of whiskey left, but I really, really miss doing what you just said, but also with people. Like, I just really miss going to a community day.
What a concept.
Yeah, like a game that could be with other human beings. Like going to community day, walking around, seeing the same people. Like, people mentioned that they got to see my kid, like when he was a baby and him growing up and all this crazy stuff. I think those on the week were really fun, but also the big ones like Go Fest, those just gave me life. Like, it was so freaking cool to see people and just have those celebrations. I really miss that a lot. I'm really hoping we get to have something like that in 2021. But playing the game is fun, but playing the game with other people, that's when it's really doing the best. Those raid trains, those community days.
Toot, toot.
Yeah, it's amazing how much the game has had to pivot because of, the pandemic and all that stuff, but how the game has changed and, really reinvented itself to allow for individualized play and play from home and all that. And it is, you think back and you're like, holy shit, it really has been, 9 months since I was really out there playing and hanging out with people and going out to eat afterwards and, trading and all that stuff. I miss that a whole shit ton.
Total strangers. I remember one time, I don't know, we were on our way to New Mexico
Albuquerque. We're in
to
Albuquerque.
move. And like, we just rolled up and did these Moltres raids with people, and we ended up spending the day with them, just rolling from raid to raid, and we eat dinner with them, and there was just like this immediate kinship because like we were the same, we were doing the same thing.
I believe it's pronounced Pescatore ship.
Exactly.
Nice. Yeah, no, that's totally true. That's totally true. I mean, it's like you get the nod, It's like you're like, that fucking person's playing Pokemon, I could tell. Or you see someone with like a charger, you're like, I know it. I knew you were playing.
Fucking nerd.
This little old lady is like walking next to me in the park, and she's headed towards me, and I'm like, oh, I better like hop out of the way to like accidentally COVID kill her. And I see her index finger do the telltale spin, and I'm like, oh shit! I literally said, oh shit! She didn't hear me because she's old as fuck, but like, it was so cool to like all kinds of people play this game, and it's just so fun when you see them out in the wild,
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true, and I'm cautiously optimistic that we will get to return to some kind of in-person event in 2021. When half of the country gets vaccinated, we'll have to see.
I will hold you down. Listen to me, people. Yeah. I will come to your house.
I want to get out of this goddamn house. Ken, how, on a level of 1 to totally fucking throw it off, if we have them reap up July 2021, how batshit Zubat insane is it going to be right now? Like, what is your level of preparedness?
No, it's, I had this conversation with Chris from
Might not
GoCast,
make it to GoFest, honestly.
No, I said, we're going to fucking go bananas. We're going to, I want to rent a ballroom, a hotel ballroom. Yeah. That we were going to, for Philly Safari Zone, I had like a creator meetup lined up. I had a location, like I had everything. So I'm fucking ready to go. And whenever this does happen, hopefully by summer of 2021. But if this does happen, we're going big. We're going to rent a big-ass space.
We're going to get suits.
I want to have
tuxedos. I got 5 on it.
Tuxedo t-shirts.
Yeah.
No, and I want, I had like artists coming to put their art up on display. I had musicians, DJs, bands. Like, I was going for it. And all that shit fell apart. So, yeah, it'll definitely be big. whenever it does happen. Hopefully it'll be in 2021 at some point, as long as the world doesn't fuck up.
As long as people don't try to buy me any more of those Malort shots, I'll be...
Everyone do that.
Nah, won't drink them. I won't. I don't care if it's rude.
He will.
GoCast Chris, I'll put him on blast real quick. He sends me an invite to a raid today, right? And, it's foolish me for not looking at the timer, but the raid only had like 2 minutes left on it. And my team wipes. New? It was me, Chris, and DeFi in the raid, right? And my team wipes. I go to join back in, and I can't get the fuck back in. And I'm like, I text him. I'm like, bro, I go, was the timer low on it? He goes,
you do me like that, Chris?
And he's like, oh, fuck, dude. He goes, all right, I owe you a drink. And like 5 minutes later, he texts me. He goes, don't worry, it won't be Malort.
I feel like I fucked up. Be. Like we actually, you know what I hate? Oh, dearie me. I hate Glenlivet so much. It's the worst. I sure hope no one buys me Glenlivet Scotch. That would make me so sad.
It's so weird. I don't know anything about
covered our
any
bases.
Of that.
They're gonna tell you that. They're gonna get you the Malort.
They're probably gonna be like, it's Glenlivet.
All right, well let's right the ship
acid.
a little bit. Let's talk about content. Let's talk about Pokemon GO Radio. Tell us what the show is all about. And is there any kind of like specific feeling or sentiment or vibe or culture or anything that you try to get across in your show?
Yeah.
Did you just listen to the last 5 minutes of the show?
This is
that
the vibe.
is what we do.
Yeah. Bunch of bullshit.
We try to talk about stuff, but man, do we just get sidetracked.
I will say that. I think like we really try to do a big job. We do have some fun. We do tangents, but if you're talking about like an hour-long show, like we really try to make 50 minutes of that specific Pokemon Go stuff. We're not like over here fucking around talking about other stuff. We do some fun stuff on the side. Like we'll do a bonus episode every now and then, but like our general vibe is we really like the idea of we're going to talk about Pokemon Go like you would turn on ESPN and you're hearing people talk about, I don't know, fucking basketball or whatever. And they're saying, I suppose, smart stuff about basketball, giving their takes about basketball, dissecting basketball, talking about strategic things, talking about dumb things, giving their opinions. That's the kind of vibe we want to bring to it, right? We're not the most intelligent, super nerd data cruncher experts, but we're people that play this game every single day, think about this game every single day. And then we have people that are really smart to come on the show and tell us that we're dumb and that they can provide that expertise. But like, we really just want to talk about the game we love and approach it like we're fans, because that's ultimately what we are. We're just like everybody else. We're just dumb enough to buy microphones and put it up on the internet.
Nice. And what would a new listener expect to hear the first time they listen to an episode of Pokemon GO Radio? What, like,
are you fucking laughing while you say that? That's rude.
Yeah, what the hell?
I don't even know what that's about, Kenneth.
It's just so funny because
shit.
like, I think, just to give a little backstory here, we probably should have started recording like a half an hour ago, and it was like 10 minutes worth of, okay, we're ready. And then we just started talking shit and then this and that. It's just like, now I get it. Like, I really understand it.
Are we recording?
It's so funny. No, but what can, if someone's never listened to your show, what do you hope that they would take away after listening to an episode?
I think that they should expect and turn on to hear probably a deep dive into the news with a lot of takes, and then just a little bit of bullshitting sprinkled on top, and just like fun nonsense. I think that if you listen to our intro bits, so we always do cold opens, and if you're like, yeah, I like that, then you're gonna enjoy the rest of the show, because that level of nonsense, we spend so much time thinking about those cold opens, people. You don't even know, but the fun and the conversation, I think that, and we'll talk, I'm sure, a little bit more about the community. I think that permeates of just, it's the most cliche podcast thing ever, but it's just two dudes sitting around having a conversation and talking about something that they're passionate about. And secondly, I hope that our genuineness comes out of just, we're not here to say that the game is perfect and we talk about stuff that we don't like, i.e. Mr. Rhyme and stuff, but man, we just love this game. This is not about being like content creator famous or whatever bullcrap for us. Like, if 3 people listen to our show, we'd still make it every week because we just really like talking about Pokemon Go.
I think the other thing we do a lot of is like, we have this revolving cast of characters that are associated with the show. Like, it just kind of became a thing. Like, some of these people have actually been on the show, but the folks that email in all the time, the PvP experts that tell us what's up, and all these people that we just slowly start to mention, it becomes this kind of like extended Pokemon Go radio family, and we're really big into that. We want to celebrate people when they make a cool catch, or when they get their heart broken when a Mon gets away, and kind of just sort of build that out, because I think like, a lot of people have friends or family that play this game, but one thing I see over and over again is people are like, I'm the only person I know that plays, and often like rural Montana or, Midlands, England or something like that. And for them to say, when I'm listening to the show, I go out, I plug that in, I'm listening to people talk about the game that I love, and there's like this group of people playing with me, and that's the kind of vibe we want to shoot for, is that, it's kind of cliche, but we want to make this community for people that love this game just as much as we do.
Nice. Well, that actually leads into the next thing I wanted to talk about, because, I've known you guys for years now, and I've learned about the back end of your show and how things are built and all that stuff. And your process is definitely a bit different than other podcasts in the Go space. And I think that the community plays an absolutely pivotal role in how your show is prepared and structured and all that. Tell us about your community and how you've kind of constructed this amazing kind of group of raving fans that helps develop and build, the structure and foundation for your shows with, your directors, as you call them, because I think that's just like the coolest fucking thing.
It is.
I remember
clutch.
you got us really. It was a group of us talking one time, and we said that we were going to do something, and you came back at us with like, "Oh, don't you have interns to do that?" Like, I didn't know you guys did anything on your own
I bust
show.
your chops all the
But
time,
it's
dude.
true.
I'm always busting yours, because I'm over here fucking editing at 3 a.m. and it's like I know Nars fucking drinking whiskey or some shit.
I was going to say the trick is to have lower standards, but that's how Nar got his wife to marry him.
It's
But
true. Yeah, that is accurate.
She just lowered her standards. But the thing that I think is really cool about it is there's just so many different people that help out in so many different ways. And some people have come and gone over the years, and that's always cool and fun and nice. But there's also some people that have been stuck around for a long time. Like Matt, he takes care of our show notes every week. Couldn't do the show without him. Just super awesome. Our Discord, we are just along for the ride in there. Like Unbreakable and Justin are absolutely running that Discord. Cameron's in there, just running and helping the PvP stuff. It's just so many people. Like Pidgey Grabba is always sending us emails. Like I remember PG did something for, what was it, the Acrid event a long time ago?
Yeah.
Just what was it?
It was
who
the
did
Night
that? Was
Foundation.
it Invisible Moose
for Akron.
for the Night Foundation? Yeah. Invisible Moose telling us what was up in New Zealand. Like there's always people that are willing to help out and just kind of pitch in. And we talk about that a lot, in that it really is just a show of like we're talking, and it's obviously like people from the community have been on the show all the time, whether it's like Gracie or like it's just so many people. I don't know, man. It's the reason we're doing the show after 4 years. It's the reason we do a show every week.
I think that's the thing, is like we wanted to find opportunities. It's like half of it is legit because we're lazy. I mean, you could say we're lazy. We're legit busy. Both of us have like full-time jobs and families and all this boring stuff. So it's kind of hard. I mean, more than anybody, you're the hardest working dude in the game, how much time this stuff takes. And so it's part necessity, but it's also an opportunity for folks to get involved. Like people email us all the time like, hey, I want to be a part of the show. Like, how can I help out, or how can I do stuff? And I mean, Salt's not joking when it comes to people that are chipping in. Unfortunately, like Vedant, who was our editor, he got a different job and had to switch stuff, and he's in the UAE, so the time zones didn't work out. So unfortunately, we're back to editing our own show, which is like, oh, that's a lot of work. But everything else, other than like editing the show and then talking into the microphone, we have people that help do it, and it's a force multiplier. That's like corporate bullshit, but like it really does matter a lot, because we can't be everywhere at once, and it's it can be something more than just 2 people or 3 people or 4 people. It can be a whole little family.
Yeah, but I mean that's how you get people invested. That like it's their show too.
Right, but I think that creates a very interesting dynamic, because when you have 2 hosts, you have, for the most part, a unified voice. Even if you have discrepancies between your perspectives, there's, it's very easy to maintain a unified voice because you have 2, you're only talking about 2 people. But when you have like a large group, especially when you have a large group of contributors, that could kind of lead to a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different vibes, a lot of different, points of view. What's the temperature of your community? Like, is everyone kind of on the same page as far as what they feel about the game and playing the game? Like, is there anything they dislike that kind of doesn't always align with you as the hosts? Because that always seems like an interesting dynamic where if I knew someone else was preparing like the notes for the show, it's like, man, but I don't know how I feel about that. It's like, it would almost be like, so I'm a rapper and I have like a ghostwriter, for my raps. And it's like, I don't know if I want to rap about this. It's like, how does that work with?
Are you hiring for this ghostwriter? Because I maybe need to talk to you like on the side. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm pretty good at it.
Nice.
But
he's not.
I think like there is a bit of that. I think the biggest maybe discrepancy is there will always be, by virtue of the fact that like, one, we're just like not superhuman people, but also we spend a large chunk of the time that would be spent playing Pokemon Go talking about Pokemon Go,
right.
like that takes out of it. So there's always going to be people that play this game like way more than we play it, and so it's kind of like you feel sometimes a little self-conscious when you're like, hey, let me tell you how to play this game, though we try not to take that like didactic tone about it. But when I'm sitting here being like, this is how the game's played, and we've got people that listen to the show, they're like, bro, I'm level 45, like don't even worry about it. And you're like, oh shit, I'm sorry, sir, I didn't know. So I think there's that tension there a little bit. Yeah. And sometimes I feel like, honestly, I feel a little self-conscious because I'm just like, I swear, like I play a lot. I really love this game, but there's no way I can do, 5 hours every day. Like that's just not going to happen. And so that's probably like the biggest thing that stands out. What about you, Salt? Do you notice anything?
I think that the easiest way too is like, I think that it's really cool. Like, I'll just give you an example. So when Matt goes and creates the notes and stuff, he gathers all the facts, especially when you're talking about, damn, there's just so much news coming out every week. And it's so hard to keep track of when things start and stop and which spawns are going to be included and all that kind of stuff. Like, he perfectly prepares all that stuff and gets it ready so that it's so easy for us to focus on our opinions and give our takes on the information and what we like and don't like. I remember it was like, when we would make all the notes and stuff, it was just it got very just, what's the word I'm looking for? Like resuscitation of just facts, which is not something people like. If people want to just know facts, they'll just Google it. What they want to hear is people give their opinions on stuff, and that frees up so much more time just to worry about that stuff and give those takes. But then I love it when Matt will come in and he'll like put his opinion in there and he'll put it in green, and it's almost like he's speaking his voice through the notes. I remember we talk about that all the time. Like, oh, Matt has written here. This is what he thinks about it, and that kind of stuff is so cool. Or the director's chat will let us know about their stuff, and we've had like I can't think of a specific example of a time where we were just totally at odds with the directors or the community about something, but I think it helps that we're always like, one, we're very open about this is I hope nobody has ever felt like we've been like, well, you can just shut the fuck up and sit down because this is my show. Like, we never ever want to go there. And then even if we disagree, we like to listen to people.
I really try hard to make you feel that way. Do you not feel that way? God damn it.
It's a long speech and blur to say that. I think that I agree with you. It can be kind of weird when you have that different, but I think that community ultimately is the strongest part of our show, and that other people and other voices get to come in and we might just be the two talking heads.
During recordings, I'll put stuff in the director's chat like, hey, we're really teeing off about this one thing, and like Edgar will come back and be like, here's what I think, and then we'll like react to that live. It is, especially when you're like identical people, no joke, it's really important that you do something. Otherwise it's a lot of like jerking each other off, being like, yeah, that's what I also think. You're so right. And yeah, no one wants to hear that for now.
And what about like approaching covering topics that may be consistent within your own community, but when you talk about like the Pokemon Go community or even the podcast community at large, there's so many things that happen in this game that split the community right down the fucking middle. And when you mix like passion and emotion and PvP in there, people get really fired up. So, I'm the constant optimist. I consider myself being cautiously optimistic with how I cover the game, where I'll definitely call, foul on any bullshit that's happening, whether that's with the game, with Niantic, with the brand, with TPCI, with the community, whether with social media, whatever it is, I'll call it out. But
you get on that soapbox. We've heard you go.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? It's like I'm not afraid to do that. I
kind of like it.
But I will always have this positive undertone because we are talking about something I fucking love, So how do you approach balancing that between sunshine and rainbows and, getting points across that are being, voiced in the community. Like, do you ever kind of have to scratch your head on that? Because I know that's very difficult for me, of like, how can I speak on this topic without alienating the people on this side of the room, and still maintaining, my own presence? Like, how do you work around that?
I think that the good example here is that sort of negativity and fire is really good in short term for content. It's a good way to get a lot of clicks. If you come out with a title of something, whether it be a YouTube video or a podcast title, that just like shits all over something, but it's so destructive in the long term, because it's just like nobody's going to tune in week after week to watch you bash something. There's like nobody's doing that. Nobody's downloading a Pokemon Go podcast so they can hear you talk about how dead the game is.
Right.
Like it's so self-defeating. And I think that being cautiously optimistic, like you talked about, is the best tone to take with something, and that there's things that you can not like, and you can be very specific with those things. But I think the secondary thing with when you're calling something out, like you talked about, to kind of avoid that glossing over, is you have to say why you don't like it and then give your perspective. Because I don't know how many times I've heard people they'll sit there and endlessly circle about complaining about something, and you're like, but why? What about it do you not like? How does it specifically affect your play experience? How might that be different for somebody else? Like something that you think is, pay to win might be very efficient and nice for somebody that's time poor and, doesn't mind paying $2 for something if it gets them what they want, and they don't have to spend 16 hours grinding it just so you can feel like you achieved something. I think that all of those different tones and kind of pulling things out in the community is another way that really helps. But I mean, we've definitely gotten some heat for it in the past. I know Gnarl has seen that too, where people are like, "Oh, you're just Niantic's bitch boys, and you just say whatever you want about this stupid game, and they're paying you." And I'm like, man, I swear to God, Niantic.
Dude, I hear that shit every day. I get called a shill. I'll get death threats, and then I'll get like shill. Those are the two vibes of like random DMs from like people with no profile picture and no followers. It's like
that's how you made it.
I think we've gotten like a couple negative iTunes reviews. I don't think we instill that much passion in people.
I just never got a death threat. No one loves me that much.
There was one time I kind of outed a group of people in Peru, I think, for manipulating Wayfarer, and they like took something like 40 or 50 waypoints and lined them up like 10 feet away from each other down one street. And it was like a spectacle. It looked fucking insane. Like it was like a playground of Pokemon Go. But I like blew it up on Twitter, and I was like, oh, someone call the Wayfarer police. And it's like, I immediately got like my inbox was full of just like people going, you fucking narc. I hate you. I'm going to fucking kill you. Like literally like people.
Why are you trying to blow up their spot, Ken? Dude, like, what's that
because
about?
I'm a fucking do-gooder and try hard,
Nah. The shining path is going to come light your ass up.
About to go to Peru right now.
What city is this? I think like the other kind of conflict that you only know one Peruvian city. Yeah,
I know.
The thing I feel kind of conflicted about is like not so much like also with the community, like everything Salt said, but now that we actually have gotten to know a few people at Niantic, like Liz George was on the show, and I'm like, oh damn, these people are really nice. Like there's actual human beings that make the game. So like whenever you're about to go take a big old dump on something, you're like, I hope I'm being fair to those people that make this thing I like, that I've personally interacted with, that are really cool on Twitter. Like I hope, but at the same time, like you have to be like, well, I need to be honest, just because I think this person's cool doesn't mean I should pull back a punch, like, and say that, the Mr. Rhyme thing is okay, I guess, just because that's not going to be good either. So there's that tension a little bit as well. The good thing is like those people are professional. They know what's up, and I don't think there's ever been a problem with that stuff. But I will say, like, just as a content creator, that is a different way of looking at an issue now, because we actually have met those people and they're nice.
Oh yeah, 100%. I've definitely been faced with that. I've worked pretty close with Niantic for over a year now, and there's plenty of times where I want to air something out and I kind of draw back a little bit. And I'm like, you know what? Let me think about this a little bit. Let me make sure that, reword this and think about it from a little bit more of an educated perspective of how can I get this same point across.
Did Ken just admit he's a shill? Is that what he's doing right now?
He did.
Holy shit.
I couldn't hear him over the sound of his shilling.
That's wild.
Hold on. I just got paid. Thanks. I just
Oh,
payment
okay.
it just cleared. No, but that's the thing.
Yeah, Venmo just came in.
Once you start to work with them and work with the people, it's you again, it's the people, because now I'm not talking about a game, I'm talking about people.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many like keyboard warriors out there that are just like, you fucking people are terrible, go fucking die, you don't even play the game, you don't know shit, you're unqualified, my fucking dead grandmother can do this better than you. It's like that. There's just no place for that. And not to say that I would ever do anything like that, but there's been times where it's like, I really want to air something out. And it's like, you know what? I need to figure out a different way to verbalize this, but keep the sentiment there, but not, make it a personal attack against a person. How can I be constructive about the game, but still be exceptionally critical about it? And that's that super difficult balance, I think, only comes once you start working with the developers and things like that, because, you're looking at it from a little bit more of a mature and respected perspective. And I think that provides, it's a conduit for better content, because all the content you're releasing at that point is now being a little bit more sensitive to not only the community, but the game itself. So it makes it a much more refined product in the end, because you're thinking about what you're releasing from a little bit more of a varied perspective, rather than just, getting on the mic and fucking airing it out,
Well, that objectivity also makes it more impactful when you do air it out, right? Because it's like, okay, Ken's not just out here like blowing shit up every 5 minutes to get clicks. Like, you actually think about stuff. And so then when you do, like, I think about like taking your time, reflecting on stuff, and then, saying something, it carries more weight. And that's something I value a little bit. If you're just freaking the fuck out every 5 seconds, it's just kind of white noise.
Also, that makes you a baby, a crybaby. You know what I mean? It's like no one wants to hear that, because there's no education in that. There's no. I want people to come to me and my content for an educated resource. And if I'm just out there bitching all the time, there's I might be a resource, but I'm not going to be an educated resource. I'm just going to be a place that people can bitch, and that's I find no value in that.
And then you're going to have to hang out with all those bitching people, and that is not fun.
I was just going to say that. At the end of the day, it's also about like the people you're trying to attract. If you put a bunch of negativity and bitching out there, you're going to build a community of people that are negative and bitching. And I just, I don't give a damn if it made our show 10 times popular. I just don't want to hang out with that. Like, I'm not trying to hear that. And then the final piece about that whole Niantic relationship stuff, at the end of the day, if you're a person who's like, I just want them to blast them for this, what effect are you trying to get? Or is the effect to feel better in the moment? Because sure, we can do that. But if you want positive change, if you want an improvement, if you want to put sunglasses on that Squirtle, or you want to put a party hat on that Wurmple,
or get that rocket event frustration time, that's feedback.
Exactly. And if you're trying to do that, that's only going to come with constructive criticism that you've looked at and evaluated and given in a professional manner. That's how you make change. If you want to just feel good at the moment and have a temper tantrum, you could do that. But don't be surprised when Niantic laughs at you and just starts raking up money.
Well, that's the thing. It's freedom of speech. Yeah, you can say whatever the hell you want. No one's going to stop you from saying it. But the thing you need to be aware of is the fallout that comes from airing it out like that. And that's what a lot of people fail to recognize.
Weird teachable moment. Fun fact for everybody, because I know you're just hoping that you'd have somebody break down some constitutional law for you.
He's doing it.
The First Amendment only guarantees you protection from the government to not silence your ability to speak. So if Ken puts his hand on my mouth, he's not violating my free speech. That's not physically possible. That's not how the Constitution works. So if you say a company or an individual person is violating your First Amendment rights, you are a fucking idiot. That's my 2 cents on that. I see that a lot, and it makes me real mad.
Love that. I was going to say, Twitter is violating my freedom of speech. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're talking about. You remember the famous signatory of the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution?
Thomas Jefferson guaranteed the right of all Twitter. No, get the fuck out of here.
All right. I love that I have to keep writing the ship because it's fucking hilarious. But let's talk about the state of the game, because
our ship is like Nemo. It's just got one fucked up rudder.
It's like a pontoon boat, but like one is fucked up. One side is all fucked up. No, but the state of the game, I think, when you're talking about a live service game, right, that is enough to keep any creator on their toes, because the game is constantly changing. Even outside of the news cycle. There's whether or not, there's a blog post on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, the game is still running on the Tuesday and the Thursday and the weekend and all that. The game is never stopping. So where are you both at? Where's your headspace at with the current iteration of the game between Go Beyond and Kalos and the level cap increase and the state of GBL? What's the overall feeling of what the game is all about right now for you two personally? Where are you at with things?
You're on like episode 8, Mark, where we had to talk about dodging because there was nothing else to talk
Yeah.
about.
October 2016 was a rough time. We're like, are we going to have to cancel the show because nothing's happening? Now, the exact opposite. I don't think the game personally has ever been in a better place.
Yeah. I think, too, a thing that we talk about a lot is we'll look at all of the notes, and there's some stuff like we just won't cover because it's a regional event or it's, I don't know what, but we'd rather talk about just the big rocks and really dive into them as opposed to just listing out everything that's possibly happening. But there's weeks where there's stuff that we could legitimately talk about that we just don't.
Can we circle back to that metaphor? Why are you diving into rocks? That's fucking dangerous, son.
Yeah,
should not do
hurts.
I'll do what I want. First of all, you're not my dad.
Are you?
Dive into rocks if I
know.
want. Oh my
I'm
god,
kinda
what
your
kind of
dad.
weird time travel fuckery would that be?
that. No, I'm like, I pooped you out
man,
in the
game
womb
is
on my
just-
toast you.
I actually, well, I'll use like this Go Beyond example. I think it's really good for the game if every whatever interval you want to call it, 6 months, that there's just a big news, just like boom, here it is, because it makes it so exciting that and it's okay if there's downtimes to make that happen, but just evenly spacing stuff out. Like we could have easily done Beyond and not done Kalos. But I think that this sort of excitement of all this stuff happening at once whenever these things happen, I think that's really cool. Like with Friends List and PvP and stuff, just those big events where things are kind of tied together. And then maybe in January things will slow down, and that's fine. But I actually really like that, and I think it's cool. And I think it makes for some of the most amazing shows when we're like, oh my God, there's so much shit happening.
Right.
I kind of like, just from a content creator perspective, is a bit of a conflict, because I kind of want, like, hey, if 1 week you could announce seasons and like the next week you announce Kalos and like the next week you announce the level cap, it would sure make it easier to not have a 2-hour show. But like from just a person that plays the game, I kind of like the idea that they're getting into these like packaged, branded release drops, like a DLC and like a live service game. There's Go Beyond, and like maybe 6-8 months from now there's Go to the Moon or some shit, where it's like we're gonna put so much stuff at once and just turn that hype meter up to 11, because that makes it really fun to play the game. And that's that kind of, there's you do the morphine drip in between, and you do the boom every like maybe 6 months if you're just being greedy. That'd be an incredible cadence. Like that's why I think the game is in such a good place right now. Is there's just so much stuff happening, so much excitement. I'm seeing like in my non-Pokemon GO Radio Discord, like the local one, people are chatting up a storm. Like, how do I do this? How do I do that? How many rocket things do I need? That's an indicator that the game is in a good trajectory.
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. I do think this is, outside of that initial launch window. And again, there was plenty of issues during the launch window, but that was an amazing time to play the game. I think right now may be the best time to be a Pokemon Go player, outside of that initial wave that, was just because it was a cultural and social phenomenon. There's just so much to do. The game is so robust. I'm with you 100%. I'm curious to hear what you think like the best and the worst of the game is. And if you had the power to do anything, change anything, add something, remove something, what would you add? What would you remove? For me, I hate that the gym system hasn't been touched in years. I hate that, that feels like an antiquated way to play the game, even though I love it and do it every day. If it was up to me, that would be the next system that I would update and polish. What about you guys? What do you think, the game, what are the highs and lows for you?
I'm actually just going to steal yours. The gym system, I think that is the Don fan in the room, because it's such a legacy glaring problem. But I think I'll take it. Not only do I want like the experience to be more fun and engaging, I also think the level of reward is just not sufficient. Like I think we have to up the amount of coins that you can earn. Like back north of 100 because 50 a day, there's just so many things to buy in this game right now beyond incubators, like with the addition of raid passes and then the addition of remote raid passes. I just find myself feeling like I need to spend more real world money. Like I can't actually earn by playing, and that doesn't feel good. I don't think that's very sustainable. So I want to see the gym experience improved, and like I want to have you put in the work, you get rewarded with in-game currency. I want that loop to exist, and I think you'll find people getting invested, people trying to get that thrill of the slot machine. They're willing to stick around at the casino a little bit longer. So I really hope that happens.
I will say that my enjoyment of the game increased dramatically when I just was like, I don't give a fuck about eggs anymore. I hate the egg system. And I was so frustrated with it, and I was gaming it, and I was trying to figure out, and then when I just decided about 6 months ago or whenever it was, just to be like, I'm not buying another incubator, and I don't give a shit what's like, I'll have one incubator going, and I'll feel perfectly fine about it. And just whatever the next egg is up, sure, fucking put it in there. But I don't not spend stops trying to get the 12K. I don't not open presents because I might get a 7K because I don't give a shit. And when an egg pops out, I'm like, oh, cool, whatever. And then I go right back to playing on the systems that I can control that aren't just random rolls of the dice. Because, man, that egg, other than just bitching about the egg system, we've talked a long time about eggs, but being able to trade eggs out, even if it was just once a day with Professor Willow, to be like, hey, I'm going to give you this egg. So it's not like deleting the egg, because I know that people don't like that. But if you want to like transfer the egg or do that. And then also changing out, making special stops, Pokemon breeders, so that maybe like once per day you could actually look to see what Pokemon was in the egg. So you could try to just figure out which ones you were going to hatch, maybe which ones you were going to transfer back, to make it a little bit more useful. It would be so much more interesting, and a way maybe to even breed Pokemon with those breeders, dropping your Pokemon off, trying to get new moves or better IVs or whatever that whole system could bring in. But that's where the egg system needs to go, because right now it just kind of feels loot boxy, and the best feeling I had was just ignoring it.
I'm with you there.
I bet they'd make more money on that if they invested in the egg system.
Hell yeah,
I'm sure they would.
They have the egg test going on right now, and I was selected to have the two segments of egg storage. So I have my segment of 9 eggs, and I have 3 eggs that I, bonus eggs that I could hold at the bottom between the 12K and the Adventure Sync eggs.
You lucky son of a bitch.
All this is going to do is make people buy more fucking incubators. Like, it's like, you got more eggs, you need more incubators. Yeah. I mean, it does, kind of quell that issue of, I don't want to spin a stop because I need to keep a space open. But like I noticed today, I started playing at 9:30 a.m. today. By 11 o'clock, all 12 spots were filled up. So it didn't make a fucking difference anyway. I still had to play the same game of, I need to clear a space if I want to get another 12K. So it really just pushes the needle, and I know it's a little bit of a placebo.
What was it filled with? Were you filling up with, what were your extra spots filled with?
All 12K eggs. The extra spots can only be filled by 12K or Adventure Sync. Those are the only eggs.
Okay. So I was thinking with I guess it's not Monday. So I don't know, 3 12K eggs, like, assuming you don't miss that weekly thing, that's pretty good. Like, then I don't care if I'm missing that 4th 12K egg. Like, I've got my 12K eggs stacked up. I'm feeling good. I don't have to ignore people's gifts. That's my biggest bump, is like, I can't open your gift because I've got to leave this open. But I'm like 3 rocket grunts away from even finding a boss. So then it's like, I'm not going to get this done today. So that's I think a bucket of cold water on a system. This is a little bit of control, like Salt was talking about, but the more control you put on eggs, the more agency you give people, the more I think they'll be willing to engage with it again.
Counterpoint, just ignore it and be happy like me.
I'm with you, man. I gave up on eggs fucking over a year ago. And it's been great. I'm on the single incubator grind. When a specific Pokemon comes to eggs, I might put a focus on it, or if I have to do it for tasks, of course. But I think the Dino event kind of highlighted the issue with the egg system. But I really need to put some of that onus back on the community. And I always make this joke, and it's so funny. I made it today with someone that I was playing with in person. I said, the Dino event was like getting kicked in the nuts, right? So someone walks up to you and is like, hey, Ken, how you doing? Bam! Kicks me in the fucking nuts, and I'm on the ground holding my nuts. But then
that's just how you say hello in New Jersey, is it not?
It is. But then I get up and I'm like, man, that fucking hurt. You know what? Kick me in the nuts again. I think it's going to feel different this time. Bam! That fucking, I'm on the ground. And then it's like, I get up and I'm like, ooh, third time's definitely going to feel different. And it's like,
Ken, here's the deal. 0.8% of the time you come. So, like, I guess it's worth it.
Not even that percent, but that's the thing. It's like I think there does need to be a little bit more transparency when it comes to the egg system, because it's just so untargeted. Like, I don't believe that there are loot boxes, because the Pokemon that's in there is predetermined when you pick it up, and you're given a free incubator. So they kind of can, Mr. Mime their way around that shit. But when they're kind of putting the new hotness behind that egg wall, like, Shiny Dino or whatever it may be, that puts that feeling back on the community. And then it's up to the community to figure out how they're going to do this. And you might say, fuck it, I'm not into it. I got my one incubator and I'm on that single incubator grind. Or I know people that were dropping $30-$40 a week on incubators alone and leaving with nothing. And it was
that does not feel good.
And that doesn't feel good. And then they get sour over the whole game. And it's like, but really what you're sour on is something that you walked into yourself. You knew this was going to be fucked, but you still tried it anyway. And that's where
I would push back the
compulsion
did
comes
they
from.
Know? Like, we know, because, like, we're over on the Sylph Road checking up odds and stuff.
Oh,
like
they
that.
fucking know.
But does the average...
If they're spending $30-$40 a week on incubators, they're not the average player. You know what I mean?
I don't know. There's always whales and stuff like that. I get your point. Like, there is definitely an informed consumer part of it, but I think it is a little bit like I would put the onerous.
How do you inform yourself?
I put the onerous back
the
on
community
Niantic.
has to go find that out.
Let's get those hashtag egg odds. Let's put them in the game so people know what they're buying into. Now, they're not going to, because the odds are shit and we all know it. But they should, because that might force them then to have not shitty odds and veer even further away from those loot boxes. Because I agree, I don't think it's a loot box, but it's it might not be a loot box, but it quacks like a loot box and it walks like a loot box. So, like, we got to be careful here. And I think there's the biggest trigger I've seen, or like the number one reason I've seen people just like one and done, like quit the game, is exactly what you said. Like, I spent $30 on loot box on incubators, and I got fuck all, and I hate it. I hate this game. I'm done.
Yeah,
that's bad.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
Business. I've seen it. I've definitely seen it. It's an interesting thing. It's an interesting take, and I think that Niantic, as much as we think like, oh, they're making fucking money hand over fist, they must have 25,000 employees that can just fucking get on this shit all day, all night. It's like, fortunately, that's not how it works. So, I'm confident that all of these systems will be tweaked and updated and iterated on over time. But it's like, there's certain things in the game, like the gym system, like egg management. I think now we're starting to see those systems start to get, some updates. But when you have those it feels bad situations, it's hard to shake that feeling from one system and get back to another system. And because all the way this game is built, and you have all these systems kind of, recycling themselves into the next, you kind of, I if I want the eggs, I have to still get out there and spin stops and grind. But if I'm feeling sour on the eggs, I may not be motivated to grind. And then you have that complete breakdown like we were talking about, and then they might put the game down, which is a true bummer. But
or you do something like, you create this new cool system with the 12K eggs, whole new content. Fuck you, the Trubbish eggs. Now I'm mad again. Just like I was mad before. Now we're doubling down and getting more mad, and that's
we have a dude named Jamal in our community who's fucking.
Oh, we know
guy.
Jamal.
Okay,
he's a crazy person.
So he's on the hunt for Sandile, right? And I think he's something around 90 or 100 12K eggs right now with no Sandile.
No.
And he's just it's like, dude, it's like, at what point do you say, I'm just going to move on, and when it happens, it happens, versus like, no, I'm committed. I've come this far, I'm not turning around.
Jamal's like the poster boy of the person you do not want to piss off with this shit, right? Because like, I don't know how much money he spends, or maybe doesn't spend anything, but he goes hard. Like, he plays this game a lot, and those are the people you do not want to fuck with on this. And like that's a risky.
Yeah, and it's not like you're gonna break the game. Like, oh god damn, he has a Sandile, so he's never gonna play again. Like, that's not the tipping point. It's just It comes down to we need to either make it way more intentional for the eggs, or we need to figure out a way to publish the odds in the game. That's my take on the eggs.
Yeah.
Concur.
Solid. Good stuff.
It's currently excruciating.
No, fuck you. You don't bring that over here. Not in front of company, Salt.
I deal enough of that with Adam, the fucking horrendous dad jokes and bad puns.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's so bad.
Adam, you should be ashamed of yourself with that shit.
Audible eye roll. It's like, all right. Well, as we kind of wrap things up, I would be remiss if I didn't talk to you about the podcasting format at large, because I'm a huge advocate of podcasting. I love podcasting. When I'm not making podcasts, I'm listening to podcasts. So I got to pick your brain on this. Why podcasting? And what is it about the format that you love, that made you say, this is the format that I want to pursue in creating content?
I think the barrier for entry is so low that you can do something like a Pokemon GO podcast, right? Like, the idea that you can get that hyper specific is such a cool thing. I remember I was we were fortunate enough to be featured on Pop Culture Happy Hour, and Glenn Weldon was just like, anytime I get a new hobby, I just go search for X thing, right? And so this kick was Pokemon Go, and he found our show, right? Like, the fact that you can do that for, I'm looking at my podcasts right now, woodworking or movie news or politics or, whatever, just random pieces of history. The fact that people can just come and create their thing, I love the shit out of podcasts. And we've wanted to do one kind of for a while. We just like the sound of our own voices, but I didn't want to just do, hey, Mark and Kyle just kind of talk shit, right? Like, no one cares. No, that's not adding any value. But if we could talk about something very specific and be one of the few people in a space, then we could create a little home for people and add value to the conversation. And when Pokemon Go came along, I was like, this is it. This game speaks to me at like my spiritual core, and now is the time.
I remember the first episode I recorded on, I think it was what's that language software?
Rosetta Stone?
Rosetta Stone, yeah. I recorded on my Rosetta Stone headset with the mic. If you ever go listen to the first episode, the audio quality is just garbage. But it took a lot of doing with, Narc totally figured it all out with the media host and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I mean, we decided on a Friday that we were going to post a show, and I think it was up on a Monday. And that kind of immediacy is super cool. And I also think that there's something about, and we've had this happen a lot. I'm sure it's happened to you, and it happens to me with the shows that I listen to. It's like when you meet somebody, people will meet us, and they will talk to us like they've known us for years, and we've just met, and they're talking to us, and it just sort of clicks, and you're like, oh, I get it, because you know all about us. Like, we've been hanging out this whole time. You were just in your car, and I couldn't see you. But you get it. Like, it's just now you're able to talk right back to us. And it's just so funny how easily and quickly people I remember at the first Go Fest, like El Barto and stuff, we just immediately started broing out. And it's like, oh yeah, because you get it. Like, we're friends.
Yeah, no, I'm with you 100%. That's one of my favorite reasons that I'm into podcasts, is because I feel like I'm in the room, and I feel like I'm part of the conversation. And there's plenty of times where I'm talking back at the radio, when I'm listening
all the time. I talk to podcasts all the time.
And that's a great thing, because you really feel like you're part of the conversation and they're speaking to you. It's like when you hear that emo song and you're like, he fucking wrote it for me. It's like it's that same effect where, you feel like the hosts are talking to you. And a lot of times, podcasts, the hosts will let their guard down and kind of pull the curtain back and get personal. And because of that, you feel a kindred connection, to them, because you're able to learn so much about them. And I fucking love that. But what do you say, I know you're into woodworking and all that.
Pescatore.
Pescatore. Yep. What are you guys listening to? Like, what's on your podcast playlist right now?
I got it up. So here's my rundown. For college football, I really like Cover 3. It's a podcast. They focus a little bit on like the betting aspect, but they also break down the news. I don't care for like sports betting, but they're a really, really fun show. Binge Mode does really great stuff.
Good.
They're from The Ringer. So goddamn funny. Those people could have chemistry with like a fucking wall. Binge Mode, they cover like deep dive on topics. So Game of Thrones, which I don't listen to, but they did Harry Potter, Star Wars, and Marvel. Really, really good stuff. Unfortunately, that's ending because one of the the hosts are gone, but their back catalog is the shit. Pop Culture Happy Hour, I already mentioned it, but they do a really if you want to feel smart about yourself but still talk about nerd stuff, that's great. Maybe my all-time favorite podcast, The Weekly Planet. It's a couple of Aussies. They are so funny, it actually makes me mad. Like, you know how, Ken, when you listen to like a podcast, you're like, these people are just like better than me at this, you know? Like, it's kind of like aspirational, but it's kind of like, fuck you guys, where I'm listening to these two dudes. And I'm just like, I can never be as good as this. Like, it's kind of
They're
a little off-putting.
Funny.
It's
just
they're so funny.
Nice.
It's ridiculous how funny they are.
The Weekly Planet, they're really, really good. And then woodworking bullshit that nobody cares about. And then the 538 Politics podcast, they do a really good job of just being level-headed and not too they're not like afraid to editorialize, but they're not particularly firebrandy, right? So like they'll call out some bullshit, but they're not going to be like getting wigged out about small stuff. So I really like their take on that stuff.
Nice. Yeah,
That's it.
It's
What do you
always
got,
interesting to hear what people are listening to. Salt, what do you got?
I also love everything that Nard talked about, obviously, with just the echo on the Weekly Planet. God damn, they're so funny. But also, Stuff You Should Know is a really great one, especially I just like how digestible it is and how interesting it is. And then, what was the other one I was thinking of? Oh, the West Wing Weekly is also great. If you're a big fan of the West Wing, it's just awesome to go back and listen to that. Ben Molina has guests on all the time, and they just talk about, they go by week to week, and they do a rewatch of the West Wing, and they have Aaron Sorkin on, they have Dule Hill on, they have everybody. And it's just, if you love that show, which you should, it's the greatest show ever. But yeah, I just absolutely love that show.
So that's not it's not really how politics works. So
Nobody cares.
Nobody cares. It's fine.
Nice. This is so awesome because like I've never heard of any of these shows. So that's
what do you got, Ken? Like, what's your go-to?
Well, I mean,
What's your big ones?
I listen to all the Pokemon Go stuff. You know, just to study,
Oh shit, we should have said that.
study the enemies.
Edit
you
this
know?
back up at the top, Ken. Fuck me.
No, but I said outside of
Go
Pokemon.
FM.
Outside, no.
Pokemon
that's
Go
fine.
Cast.
No.
The old Pokemon Go Cast.
All
Pokemon
4
Go
Metapods.
podcast.
Yeah,
All
exactly.
the Metapods.
Spoofbot 2020.
Fucking love Spoofbot, come back.
God,
That was
dude,
the best
That was
show.
my favorite podcast of all time. It was the fucking.
They were
greatest
so
show.
fucking
So
fun.
No,
insane.
I,
We never challenge them to a rap battle again.
Yeah,
I
never gonna
my
make that
day-
mistake.
I start my day every day with a podcast called 7 Good Minutes. It's like a 7-minute long podcast that's an excerpt from a longer talk that just sets your tone and your motivation and it's like a mantra that I listen to every day to kind of just get my ass out of bed and get motivated and stay positive. Really, really good show. Definitely recommend it. I listen to a lot of video game podcasts outside of Pokemon Go. I'm a huge fan of the Giant Bombcast. That's like my go-to weekly gaming podcast. But I also love pretty much everything that Rooster Teeth does and Kind of Funny.
Oh, yeah.
These are two troops that like I have supported and loved for years and years and years. Let's see what else. Oh, Wild Ride with Steve-O. That's another one that's new that I'm really
random.
enjoying. That one's really good. Let's see what else I have.
I'll tell you what,
here.
Inside Gaming on
I
Rooster
swear to
Teeth,
God, if
really
Florida
good.
beats, or if LSU beats Florida, I'm gonna fucking lose it.
I don't know anything about
Oh,
this
no.
sports ball shit. Oh, Fake Doctors, Real Friends. This is a good one. It's
yes.
it's the
What is
Scrubs
that one?
podcast. It's
like West
Zach,
Wing Weekly,
Zach
but for
Braff
Scrubs.
and Donald Faison that from Scrubs, and they go episode by episode of Scrubs and talk about the show, and it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal.
Favorite trend in podcasting are people that were on the shows that are doing the rewatch shows. Like
Yep.
the idea that they
Office
can like bring
ladies.
that context.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
The Office
Yeah,
Lady
and it's
Office
with Jenna
Ladies.
Fisher and I
Yep.
can't remember her name, Angela's name, but they do one too.
Yeah, but I mean, I listen to like Joe Rogan, and some of the bigger ones and stuff like that. But, when I was commuting for work, I was commuting like 12, 13 hours a week. So just in my commute, I was able to consume so much podcasting. With that changing, it's like I don't listen to as much as I'd like. But I mean, I was out on foot grinding today for 7 hours. So, I mean, I literally listened to podcasts for 7 hours today. It was fucking awesome.
I love podcasts so much that when I have to drive like 8 hours to go visit NAR in Houston, I'm like looking forward to that shit. I'm like, hell yeah, dude, I'm about to crush some podcasts.
Isn't that the best? Isn't that the best? I love it. I love it so much. But guys, thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. It's always so fun to talk to you.
Wait, was
It's
it
the
optional?
best.
NAR told me I had to.
No, we're
It's part of your
contractually
contract.
obligated. Yeah.
You signed in
unfortunate.
blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't just keep
So it
alluding
works.
to this contract. I don't know, man. I've been drunk around him before though, so I could have. I don't know.
Dude,
Might have
I
happened.
remember.
We really-
Let's go back to GoFest 2018. I don't think I've ever seen any humans more drunk than you two.
Oh, that was
Wow,
fine.
that wasn't even bad. I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
That was maybe a B+.
Bro, I can remember all that. So
the
it's-
Lunatone
yeah.
spawned at like 12:30 a.m. outside, and
We
like
lost
I just
our
remember
shit.
like a whole bunch of drunk people trying to get out of one door of the bar.
Goldies, I think, in Chicago.
Goldies.
That was good. That was a good bar.
Goldies, that's right. That's right.
The real
yeah.
local kind of place. They're like, whatever, nerds, have some fucking beer.
Dude, they're playing the Pokemon music over the fucking radio. It was, so
It was wild.
So funny.
Man.
So funny.
But we really appreciate. I think these are such a cool thing because they highlight lots of different stuff. I've found creators and stuff like that listening to the first 21 episodes. It's cool that you do this, man. We really are glad to be a part of it.
Even if we were 22nd on the list, it's fine. It's whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Hey,
Fuck, I mean, whatever.
fun fact. The first episode of Lured Up ever, the standalone episode of Lured Up, you were the guests. You were the guests.
Yeah,
on
that's
that
true.
show.
Oh, now I feel
So-
special.
So that's y'all are very, very special to me, and you were definitely an inspiration to branch out, and do Lured Up on its own, because I was such a huge fan of your show. So thank you so much for coming on. Why don't you let our community know where they can find you? Of course, links will be in the description, but let us know where you're at when your show comes out, and we'll make sure that if people in our community haven't checked out your show, that they definitely do.
That you can find us at Twitter at Pokemon Go _radio because somebody got the real Pokemon Go radio account. God damn it.
Still mad.
And you can email us info.pokemongoradio@gmail.com.
And you can find the
I was
podcast.
going to say, it's actually
every
us
single-
on Twitter. We do our own Twitter.
Yeah, we do actually do that part. We drop new episodes. Technically, we say every Monday. They're actually late Sunday night U.S. time, so you could check them out there. We like to make them in time for Unbreakable to cook dinner on the West Coast. That's our actual deadline, in case anyone's curious.
Nice.
We do those every single week. We don't miss shows. That we're very professional like that. And
It's the one
been-
consistently professional
it's-
thing we've done.
It's the one line we won't cross. We will get that show out, and we do it every Monday. And you can check it out.
Oh,
Go to
and we don't
Spotify.
swear on the show.
Oh yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah,
got kids and stuff.
Dude,
People listen as a
I've-
family.
I've
so we,
cornered the market on cursing about
sure
Pokemon.
have.
it's my favorite thing about being on your show. I fucking love
as
it.
I called you before that we started recording, you are a filthy little goblin, and we love it so much to come on here so we can be our true filthy goblin selves.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
It's good times, yeah. But yeah, that's where you can find us if you thought, hey, that's circuitous bullshit. I want some more of that.
I need Constitution talk in my life.
Yeah, if you just like
Tell
in
me
the middle
more.
of Pokemon Go, you just want a weird
Yo.
breakdown about constitutional law or college football.
I can't tell you
or-
how fucking proud I was of myself when Salt's in the military. That you need that context. And he was coming, and I said, "You can't sleep in my house." And he's like, "What?" And I just sent him a Third Amendment quote, and he's like, "Get the fucking quartering soldiers! You're an asshole." He's like, "Yeah, that's what's up."
Well, Salt, Nar, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure, and definitely look forward to doing this again in the future. I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man. Thanks.
All right. Everyone else, keep training, trainers. We'll see y'all fuckers next week.